story about coming of age and finding yourself. And for those of us who've already been there, looking back with, sort of sanguine eyes of the angst and the dimension, the joy of that. Inviting you to dance. And for the young people that are in that process right now, seeing it presented on stage, I would hope would be a thrill for them, but also something that they can relate to.
Though he has like these, grand beginnings, he really is an everyman. He just wants to find happiness. His corner of the sky is meaning and fulfillment to his life, which really resonates with everybody. Everybody just wants to be happy.
Its season, everything has its time. Show me a reason and I'll soon show you right. Pippin is a young man who comes home from college. He's just graduated from school and he doesn't have a job. So he comes home to live with mom and dad and to find himself and to apply himself to what he wants to do next in life, although he's not sure what that is. He's from a, sort of, I'm gonna say dysfunctional family, but he has a stepmom. He's from an extended family, a very modern take on an 8th century prince, the son of Charles the Great. So, although it's based in the history of the actual Pippin, the story is very broadly interpreted to make it more accessible to every man's story. So don't ask where I'm going, just listen when I'm gone. And far away you'll hear me singing softly to the dawn. Rivers the long way to the eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky.
Well, since we're braver and stronger and have God on our side, can't we just go out there and kill at will?
War is a science, Pippin.
Well, that takes half the fun out of it right there.
There's plenty of fun when you win.
It's a very 70s show. It's of that period of self-discovery and self-awareness, and it's all, he is a narcissist, but at the same time, it's reaching out for your dream. Got to find your purpose in life, to borrow from Avenue Q, and another quest for a young person really discovering who they are and what's important to them.
And a gentleman
and then the men go marching out into the fray, conquering the enemy and carrying the day. Hark, the blood is pounding in our ears. Jubilations, we can hear a grateful nation's cheers.
Pippin, don't interrupt.
Sorry, Father, I guess I just got excited. The first time I saw it was the DVD, the video production that was filmed in the 80s. And the first thing I got from it was there was a great dichotomy between, like, Stephen Schwartz's music is so joyous and uplifting.
Time to take a little from the world we're given. Time to take
Seeing that contrasted with the pessimism that Bob Fosse brought to the production, it really let you see things in a whole new light that I thought was very interesting. I definitely tried to bring more polarity to the character. I think there's a lot of great colors that you can play with Pippin, and I felt that, you know, the production I saw was he played it very one note, and it kind of got boring after a while, and you kind of didn't like Pippin. But the whole point of the show is you gotta like Pippin.
Pippin jumped back into life with his usual zest. He tried art, the creative life, and you know something? He wasn't too bad. But what he found out was he's gotta be dead to find out if you were any good. Then he dedicated himself to the church. Pippin sought God in the highways. He sought him in the byways. Till they finally cornered him in a huge cathedral. And what he found out was the church isn't saving souls. It's investing in real estate.
There was something about Connor that was very appealing, that it's very approachable. The dilemma with Pippin, with directing Pippin, is that it's real easy for Pippin to become a schlub and, you know, and a whiner and a slacker. And so Connor brought in qualities that were likable and still had the strengths and the vocal chops to sing the role. So that was, I think he's not physically your typical Pippin, but I like that too.
In high school, I was in 2 other Stephen Schwartz shows. I was John the Baptist in Judas and Godspell. I was Father in Children of Eden. I had the privilege of being the lead in the national high school premiere of a show called Striking 12, so I've had a lot of great lead opportunities.
I am playing the leading player. He's a devious little guy there. He's got this really charming aspect because he's like the narrator of the show, and he's like this, not the star, but he holds everything together, and he's got this really charming side, trying to like convince the audience that we're having a great time, this is such a good show, but at the same time he has ulterior motives for Pippin, because the entire plot he's trying to get Pippin to kill himself at the end for the grand finale. He's been a lot of fun to play. There's a lot of different colors and like aspects that I've been trying to work in with him, and trying to get as much out of him as I can. It's been a really interesting, like, good working experience for me to work on this character.
We've got magic to do, just for you. We've got miracle plays to play. We've got parts to perform.
The leading player really is sort of a master of ceremonies. You know, he's a very charismatic, very powerful character who really commandeers all the action on the stage and sort of Svengalis the rest of the troupe around. So it's a great opportunity for our young actor Jason Kolbitz to play, and he's really taken on that persona very well.
I started acting when I was in 10th grade of high school. I did 10 shows in about 3 years, so I was busy.
We got magic to do, just for you. We got miracle plays to play.
I've had a lead ever since my first show.
Hearts to warn, kings and things to take by storm. As we go along, got magic to Pippin, think about your life. This is a free-for-all section. So think about your life, you're spreading out. Think about the sun, Pippin, think about your golden glance. How she likes the world up. Well, now it's your chance. Let the guardians of splendor inviting you to dance. Pippin, think about your life. Now we do the circles. Ba, 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 go round.
Oh, I love working with Eric. He brings this energy to the rehearsal process where you come in every day with a smile on your face. It's like, okay, what do we get to do now?
We're spinning it, but can we make it look like we're touching? Can it look like more hypnotizing him and less
blundering. So it's like, think about your life, again, think about your days, and then, yeah, oh yeah, I remember you. Think about that's so, I remember you from Act 1. There's Grandpa.
He's such a fun director to work with, just because he's just a fun person in general. I mean, he's my professor back at Kent, and I think he's different as like a teacher versus a director, like for obvious reasons, but there's something about him when he's directing a show that he just has this like really like fun like atmosphere about him.
That's it, yeah. We'll stroke you. Yeah, we love you. We love you. You're precious. We love you. You're terrific. This happens. You guys are opening up with the power and the glory are there at your command. The power and the glory are there at your command. The power and the glory are there at your command. What are you doing? Then the last time, all into him. Pippin, think about your life. And then we're going to open up into a big wedge. Bum, 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 bum.
It's a great feeling when you can come into a rehearsal space with that sort of energy. It really helps the creative process a lot.
So let's spin you back center on power and the glory. And everyone is going to open up your arms. Power and the glory are there. So a little dig. Are there at your command. Pippin to him. So that's what your arms are doing, but your legs may be doing something different. Everybody's arms doing, when the power and the glory are there at your command, Pippin. And what everyone's doing here, we're opening up. So as you spun him and he's left you, you guys can open up this way. So you're moving back into him. When the power and the glory are there at your command, Pippin. I started in musical theater as a singer-dancer, and I worked my way up through the chorus into roles of dance captain, assistant to the choreographer, and then ultimately director. So my lineage to the top has been from the masses. I was 8 when I first started, but I didn't really do it. Although my school had a theater program in high school, I wasn't involved with theater until I was 16 and really got involved with community theater.
Majority rules, so if you look in someone's eyes and you think you're wrong, just keep going the other way. Just keep going the other way.
What we said is once he says Pippin, start counting 1, 2, and then switch.
Pippin, sit down. 1, 2.
Until he says study it.
2. Study it is change position. 4.
I was 17. I went to New York for the first time, and Pippin was the second Broadway show I ever saw. I saw Chicago the first night and Pippin the second night. So I saw 2 Pop Fosse iconic musicals before I even knew who Bob Fosse really was. And we got tickets at TKTS, which is the cheap ticket outlet in middle of Times Square. And we got seats in a loge, a box very far downstage. And I was able to sit. They were sold as partial view. So I was like, partial view, what does that mean? But they were cheap, and I love cheap. So we got there, we sat down, and I was so far downstage, house right, that I was able to see into the wings. It was incredible to be able to watch the show and also be able to watch the mechanics of what happened backstage. And I remember a moment in the show, and I can't tell you now what that moment, where in the play that moment was, but a moment where I was so fascinated by watching the preparation that I vowed that this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
War is a science with rules to be applied, which good soldiers appreciate, recall and recapitulate.
I love the repetition of theater, of every night coming in and doing the same thing and going to the same place, and mapping out everything. It's very appealing and comforting to me to be able to repeat the process over and over again, and know that you have, in theater, you always have the next show, so no matter what happens, boy, I messed that up, I wish I had that better, or got that right, and next time, tomorrow night I'll get it. So it's always the hope of the future. And there's always, I can't wait to do this again tomorrow night, or see how this works, so that's it. Theater is the land of second chances.
Take him up first, and so don't raise the legs so high. Legs up so high. Let the middle get up. Get this part up high.
Whoa.
Yeah, lean back. Don't sit up.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Okay,
There you go.
okay. Yeah, it's scary as hell.
So they're going to take your middle up a little higher and then bring you down. Yeah. Just do that a couple.
It's making me nervous.
Now when you put it down, drop the legs first.
This has gotten infinitely more scary.
Stephen Schwartz wrote Pippin when he was in college as a one-act, sort of a theater festival, and it was called Pippin. And he, after Godspell, he made a name for himself, or was established with Godspell. He went back to Pippin and presented that to producers as a Broadway-worthy show. And Bob Fosse became involved as the director. There were several rewrites. Schwartz had written all these songs for the original show, and ultimately none of those made it. He rewrote everything. So the version of Pippin, although it's based on his original concept, is completely different than it was. But when Fosse became involved, the original character of the MC, or the lead player, in Schwartz's view, was like a kinder, older, sort of I say Yoda from Star Wars, kind of an older grandfatherly mentor. And Fosse changed all that. He really wanted to bring Ben Vereen in to do the role, and because he thought that Ben Vereen had the magnetism and the charisma to pull it off. So his take on the leading player was very different, and with his money and backing, bringing Ben Vereen in, there was also interest from Motown Records came in as a producer. So all of this, the whole shape and sound of the show changed because many more hands became involved with it. And now Pippin, and the score has this great funky 70s vibe to it, and that was an influence. Fosse really made it a lot darker. It was originally very sweet and very soft, and his take that the lead player and the players were, pulling Pippin down some dark path, is his edginess gave the show a real edge, and his direction for the show was much heralded, and he won the Tony Award for Best Director for it. And although Pippin itself, the score and the book, didn't garner a lot of awards, Fosse's work on them did. So it's interesting that he, sort of became Bob Fosse's Pippin, and then years later, after Fosse passed, it went back to Schwartz, and he has since then changed it or modified it back to his original version of it. So a lot of people think of Pippin, fondly as being kind of cute and cutesy, but the original production was quite disturbing. I just think it's fascinating because it just shows that musical theater as an art form is still alive, and it's not like we're preserving this and saying, okay, it must be, this was the version and it's done, that it's an evolving process, and our production is another step in that process, because we have tweaked and tailored things as well. As with any theater production, it's going to be different. It's a different cast, different artistic team, but so it's I'm hoping that it will pull people in who have, there's a lot of people of my age that remember Pippin because it's such an iconic show, that love Pippin. I can't wait to go see Pippin. I can't wait to see Pippin, and we'll pull them back in with fond memories of the show without being nostalgic, because I think it is very pertinent and very updated for today's audience as well.
I have been searching and searching for something meaningful to do with my life, and I
I can think of, and I haven't even come close.
It's been a joy to work on this production. I just have to say that because the cast has been so attentive and the artistic team. It's just been a real joy to, my sense of direction is not really to say you must do this, you must do that, but sort of look at the choices given and direct them into another way. So it's been fabulous working with everyone on this production, and I can't wait for it to open and to be received by the audience.
I've had a fun time really playing, with the genuine, and at some points he's a brat, and at some points he's this great, lovable guy, and finding the peaks and valleys is very fun.
It's a really interesting show. Like, there's parts about it that I was like, oh, that's kind of creepy, and then like there's parts that are like really fun, and it's just got like it's got like all the aspects of like theater that are really fun to portray, especially with my character. It's a blast.
It's gonna be great.